what most people don't know about agriculture is how much hard work it takes, even today, with all the mechanical improvements and all the new technologies, how hard it is to grow a good crop or raise livestock efficiently and profitable. I've been around Delaware farmers all of my working life, and I am continually impressed by their attention to detail. The little things make it work. A farmer told me once, he said, "Ed, you know the difference between a good farmer and an average farmer?" And I was waiting for this pearl of wisdom, and he said, "About 3 days." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "The good farmer, when the conditions are ready to plant or harvest, he's ready to go. He's working at that optimum moment. An average farmer is fixing equipment for 2 or 3 days and misses those opportunities." Today, we sell agricultural products to the tune of about $1.2 billion a year, and that's everything from asparagus to zucchini to chickens to corn and soybeans. So $1.2 billion of agricultural sales every year. That sales data gets multiplied by a factor of 7 or 8 in total economic activity. You know, the farmers buy tractors, they buy fertilizer, they're buying trucks and everything else. So that $1.2 billion in sales really represents about $8 billion a year in economic activity. We have the land, we have the soils, we have the human resource. I see Delaware as a food shed for the eastern United States. Delaware's geographic location was placed right in the middle of the colonies. And maybe the first 100 years after settlement from 1631, agriculture was sort of subsistence. But by the mid-1700s, we're seeing Delaware wheat being exported to the Caribbean basin, back to Europe. We're seeing a market economy develop where fruits and vegetables are making their way up the river to Philadelphia and around and out in the ocean to New York and even Boston. River transportation was important on both sides of the state. And they were shipping fresh produce out of Odessa, Frederica, Dover, Lebanon, a little small town on the St. Jones, Milford and Milton. And then on the western side of Sussex County, Seaford on the Nanticoke, and Laurel, Broad Creek. And then the market economy really expanded as the railroad went from north to south, which opened up Kent and Sussex County for real commercial market farming. So transportation, north-south transportation in particular, was really critical, whether it was railroad or highways, to the development of our agriculture. The other piece of our geography really relates to our geology and the way our light sandy soils are very plowable and very friendly for agriculture and farming, as it's connected to crop production in particular, and in even more particular, vegetable crop production.
My dad started in 1953. He started with nothing and built the operation. I came into the operation full-time in 1974, and I've actually been managing West Farm since 1980. We grow peas, lima beans, sweet corn, cucumbers, field corn, soybeans, barley, and wheat. You gotta love it or don't do it. It's just that simple. The farming it's a hard life, but it's a good life. The way I like to think about it. It's we work long hours. You get dirty, and there's times when it really tries you. But you get stormed on, and sometimes you watch your crop wash away, and you just go out and redo the land and plant it over and go again. So it's something you gotta have in your heart. There you go.
Newcastle County has a long and great tradition of agriculture, and its soils are among the best in the country. They are a loam for the most part, and they hold moisture well. They're naturally fertile. So in the southern part of Newcastle County, it's a great grain producing area. The northern part has more rolling hills, and for many years, especially before the post-World War II development, that was a great dairy center. A lot of dairy farms providing milk to not only Wilmington, but to Philadelphia and the East Coast. And again, that's part of the natural terrain that fostered that.
Our family's been here since the late 1700s. We have 75 acres here in Newcastle, Delaware. We are primarily a dairy farm. We have about 32 cows that we milk and use a quarter to a third of the milk for ice cream. My sister is also active on the farm, and my parents are both involved in the farm still. My father is out milking every single day, and my mom keeps everybody straight around here. So very much a family farm. Everybody's involved.
People are amazed that my husband is the 7th generation on this farm, and that this farm, was established by the Mitchell family in 1796. So it is amazing to have those kinds of roots.
And of course, the most famous thing too in the southern part of Newcastle County, the first commercial peach orchard in Delaware was 1832. A man named Isaac Reeves planted that very close to Delaware City. And then a neighbor of his, a Major Rybold, became the peach king, and he had vast orchards and shipped peaches by boat and by train. And so Newcastle County was really the center of the peach business way back.
Peaches are certainly a little more difficult to grow than row crops or even vegetables. Right now we're in bloom, as you can obviously see, but this time of year we're trimming the trees, making sure the branches are cut back so that the fruit will grow better, sunlight can get in and color up the fruit. We've been in Delaware since 1919, and my great-grandfather came up from Virginia. He liked the ground here in Delaware and thought it was good soil. I guess in Virginia his farm had a lot of rocks in the ground, and he just fell in love with the land here in Delaware and moved up in 1919 and started a farm up here.
Kent County, a little bit lighter soil, more flat. On the western side of the county, where it drains into the Chesapeake, the soils are not as well drained, and that area was problematic to farm until drainage and ditches started to come in the 1930s. But the rest of the county, very good soils, long tradition of vegetable crops, both for canning and freezing, and then also the grain crops, and also a tradition in the older times of shipping products out by the various rivers that come into the county, and also a dairy tradition, although not quite as heavy as Newcastle County used to be. After World War II, I think the most unique thing were the potato growers that migrated down from Long Island, New York. As New York City spread out, about 80 families moved to Delaware, mostly to Kent County, to start potato farms. And that was a huge characteristic of Kent County up until about 15 years ago. And then conditions changed and families changed, but now we have 5 potato growers, but it's still an important part of Kent County.
Overall, our farm encompasses about 800 acres. We grow 400 acres or so of corn and soybeans, but the other 400 acres is mostly devoted to fruits and vegetables, apples and peaches, cantaloupes, asparagus, sweet corn, pumpkins and broccoli and cauliflower. And being involved in agriculture, a lot of kids don't realize that where their food comes from. They have no clue that, you know, a ear of corn grows on a stalk. It's amazing the questions I get. I go to the local farmers markets and a couple times a week in the season, and the reaction that I get from being a farmer, because people, little kids especially, you're a farmer? Like they don't know what that is almost.
Sussex is our largest county, largest agricultural county, and the soils are much sandier, so more subject to drought. In the history of Sussex County, there have always been specialty crops or special enterprises that took some of the risk out of being on such a droughty soil. For a long time, strawberries and fruit crops, which had some resistance to dry weather. Over on the western side of the county, watermelons, which are a very deep-rooted vegetable, were shipped out on trains in the late 1800s. Again, a crop that could withstand drought and provide some cash income to farmers.
I started farming with my dad when I was probably in the 3rd grade or younger, and we've been growing watermelons ever since then, and other grain crops and vegetables and things like that. Well, with watermelons, as crops like apples and oranges down south and things like that, they've got to be hand harvested, just for the simple fact that the maturities, they mature at different times, and versus a corn crop that matures at the same time. You harvest it with a big $400,000 combine and it's over with. So somebody's got to look at every watermelon individually and determine when it's ripe. Well, we have a group of guys that are called the cutters, and their job is to walk over and look at the watermelons and determine if it's ripe. If it's ripe, they cut it off the vine and roll it over so the belly's exposed. And then we have another group of guys that are called the loaders, and their job is to go back and go behind the cutters and pick up what's been cut and put it in a bus, hopefully handling it very gently, and then it's taken to the packing shed where it's unloaded and packed. biggest thing we've got going for us in Delaware is our proximity to the Northeast, especially from the watermelon industry standpoint, because we are the farthest north economic stop for watermelon production. Our freight is so much lesser with the price of fuel and everything else. It's cheaper to get our product into New York, Boston, any of the Northeast cities than anywhere south of us. So it gives us an advantage. And I can't tell you about the rest of the country, but in Delaware, that's what we are. It's all about family farms. You know, there's larger farms, smaller farms, but it's all about the family, I think. So that's what we are. We don't have any corporate farms around here per se, you know.
Of course, the greatest enterprise in Sussex County is our poultry industry. And that started in 1923 with Mrs. Steele, who ordered 50 chicks from the hatchery for her backyard flock, and they sent 500. And she decided to keep them and sold them all at a very nice price of 63 cents a pound in 1923. The word spread. And so the relatively mild winters in Sussex encouraged year-round poultry production. That, plus the proximity to feed and grain, plus the development of the highway, the DuPont Highway, connected those farmers to the urban markets for poultry.
We are a poultry farmer. I've been a farmer for over 35 years. We have 3 houses. They're what are called large houses. They're 60 by 500 feet. There's 40,000 birds in each house, or a total of 120,000 capacity. The workforce is me, myself, and I. And my wife helps with the book some, but it's basically a one-person operation. We're able to do that because of all the technology that's in these houses. Well, this is the control box for the entire chicken house. It controls the temperature, the ventilation, the lights. Theoretically, you could go from 0 degrees this morning to 90 degrees this afternoon, and it would cycle through the heat units that were necessary to maintain the heat, or the cooling pad. My old houses did not have this. It took much more labor to manage them because I physically had to manually come in and open and close the vent boxes, turn fans on and off, or do whatever is necessary to try to maintain the ideal growing conditions. This use of technology here assures a much more uniform quality environment for producing the chickens. You know, agriculture, as there's been less people involved in agriculture, people don't understand the importance of it and what's involved in making that happen from the field or the poultry house to the table. Come on, Chloe. What's been very helpful is there is some resurgence in interest of agriculture, and that's important.
I think this is one of the most exciting times for agriculture because of the technologies that are happening out there. The farmers need to do better each year, and to pick up on new technology and implement it is a theme not only in Delaware agriculture but across the country and probably across the world.
This is the 2020, this is for seed census, actually reading the seed, that's my destination population. This is the singulations, it gives you your skips and multiples. That's your good spacing. You want your good ride so your boxes don't bounce, which is on 100%. This is the auto steer. When I first come to the field, I'll go in here and I'll put set track, and I push A, and I'll drive across the field and I'll push B. Well, it connects the 2 coordinates, and then it gives me that line all the way across. When I turn around, that white line will go to that line there. And as you can see, I'm coloring it in, which means I'm planting it. And then when I turn around, the white line will skip over here, and I push the button, and the tractor takes off again. The planter's doing its work. I'm not doing nothing. It's all with the radar, and it's saying that it came to my headlands, and it's shutting every row off. And when I get out of my headlands, it'll shut them. It'll turn them all back on. I'm not doing a thing. It's all automatic.
We first came out, people were skeptical. They didn't think it was going to pay. They thought we were buying it because it was gadgets, but we're buying it because it pays and it works and it is making us money. It'd be hard to go back. I don't know that I could go back to spraying without it. It does it quicker, easier, and better.
The best way to preserve farmland is to have profitable farmers. So everybody tries to work together to make sure the firms that create the opportunities for farmers to sell products are alive and well. You know, whether that's the poultry processors, the vegetable processors. We try to link our people to markets up and down the coast. We try to do a lot of local marketing and the boom of farmers markets. So economics and being profitable is the first way to preserve farmland. We also have in Delaware a farmland preservation program in which the state will actually purchase the development rights from that farmer forever in perpetuity, and the succeeding landowner as well cannot sell that farm for development. It has to be sold as a farm if it's sold or kept in farming. I do consider Delaware an agricultural state. About 40% of our land mass remains in farms. And I think public policy that maintains farms and farm profitability is really important to our food security, to good nutrition. I have 4 grandchildren. They range from 2 to 4 years old. And I worry where they will source their food 40 years from now, 30 years from now. And I hope they're able to buy Delaware peaches and Delaware sweet corn and Delaware chicken. But the good news is you can go out in the countryside of Delaware and see a lot of young people that are in their first 5 years of farming that are growing vegetables or growing organic products or finding a niche that allows them to generate some income out there on the land.
I grew up down in Milton just watching tractors go back and forth across the field. I mean, that's my first word was combine, I think, and that's just what I did. I liked it, I enjoyed it. It was fascinating to watch, and it was more fascinating to be a part of it, really. I do it because I love it. I enjoy it. And I've told people that in the past. They said, why do you work so hard? Do you need to take off? And I said, well, if you did what you enjoyed every day, would you want to go do something else? Try it again. You know, there's a little bit of heartache and headache that goes along with it, but 6 days out of 7, I enjoy what we're doing.
Oh, you got one? You don't have a grease circuit, do you?
I like to say I do the behind-the-scenes things. I do all the bookwork, financial. I'll help them move if they're, going from one farm to the next. I check irrigation, turn the irrigations on. take them food when they're working late or if somebody doesn't have food that day. The main thing was it allowed me to stay home with our children. But I guess the thing I like about farming the most is that you're growing something that is either going to be for animals or people consumption, and you're making a difference, I like to think, in the community.
I think the common saying is, farmers get 50 chances to do it right. You farm for 50 years, you get 50 chances to do it right, and that's, you're always trying to do it better than you did last year. You're trying to catch the markets on a different swing than you caught them last year. It's just so rewarding to see what you've created every year and then harvest it and take it to the bank.